Hello everyone, you're listening to another episode of Echolocation, a podcast created under a joint collaboration between three media outlets. From Georgia, K-News, from Moldova, DS, and from Sweden, Global Bar Magazine and Global Pod. Our aim with this podcast is to create an echo through society by inviting young people from all three countries to make their voices heard, but at the same time exchange information and opinions about all sorts of topics of interest for them. The age of artificial intelligence is here. Every day, there are new and amazing advances in AI technology. Recently, we've seen a number of AI tools like ChatGPT and DALL, among others, become a worldwide phenomenon. It's clear that with these advances come new challenges and ethical concerns that need to be discussed thoroughly. In this episode of Echolocation, we will talk about the future, ethics, and use cases for the technology that has become so controversial in the last few years. We will get young people's perspective from beautiful countries of Georgia, Moldova, and Sweden. Now I want to welcome our amazing guests. Firstly, I want to welcome Mishiko from Georgia, who is a computer science bachelor and also works in a tech field. From Sweden, I want to welcome Alberto Alvarez, who is an associate senior lecturer at Malmö University. And from Moldova, I want to welcome Daniela, who is a high school student, and she recently, with her colleagues, represented Moldova at Intel AI Global Impact Festival. Welcome, all of you. And firstly, I want to start with Alberto. And if you can explain to our listeners in a non-technical way, if it's possible, what ChatGPT and DALL do and how they function.
Sure. Lau, thank you for the invitation. Yeah, absolutely. So ChatGPT and DALL, they are machine learning models, which basically are trained using some type of data that then are used to generate new type of content. In this case, ChatGPT generates text and DALL generates images. ChatGPT is using what is called a language model, in this case, a large language model, which basically means that it has been trained with a lot of text in an unsupervised way, just a lot of text fed into it, and then the model is able to learn different patterns in the data. And similar with DALL, it's a model that has been learning from images, the patterns that exist in images, and relate those to some type of captions, some type of text. So then when you are able to, you're able to generate based on text input, then you generate images that are according to how those inputs were mapped to the outputs in DALL, making it that it can generate a lot of variations in the type of images that it generates in different styles and different type of content based on the patterns that exist in all of the data that it was trained. ChatGPT is exactly the same idea in the sense that it's also learning a lot of the patterns in the data, the input data that it uses and the output data it uses, and is able to, based on inputs, generate a lot of output that can be diverse, but at the same time, it's also following a lot of patterns that exist in the data.
Yeah, so thank you. It was great explanation, and I think a lot of people don't really understand and don't really get that these models are just predicting, right? And they are not doing some magical stuff. They are pretty much like, if we say, like they are predicting what you might want to get information about, right?
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the models have learned a lot of patterns from the data. The point is that they use so much data that the patterns becomes globalized within all those become global throughout all of that data, and then it's able to learn how those patterns might connect to each other, how the text might connect to each other, and then is able to generate text that might seem very unique and is very diverse and in some cases very novel as well, but it's mainly using patterns that is in the input data, the same with DALL as well, of course.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And a lot of people also wonder, yeah, it's great. It's really fun when you like talk with it and get some really cool information. Maybe sometimes you will get some fun answers. But what are the actual use cases that they have and that they are really being used? And if and are the big companies or like yeah, big companies use them, and how can we use it to improve our lives? And this question is for everyone, but Alberto, we can start from you.
Sure. So I think that system has a lot of possibilities among many fields, but one of them is obviously creative fields like games or like other type of design environments as well. ChatGPT has been used. Well, probably you all have seen a bunch of examples on Twitter or whatever. That is to generate, for instance, information about academic text or like for studies, these type of things that can have created some type of um, dissonance in the community because of yeah, how it can change the academic area and education in general, which I think basically is definitely going to change some things, but I think that we should be able to use it and actually harness the power of them and help the students in to understand what is this system for and help them utilize them to actually improve how they how they perform the different activities, different assignments, and obviously it's going to be for us as teachers to be able to have to change and adapt towards these new technologies, change the way that we do education right now, and try to move away from traditional ways of evaluation and trying to go more towards deeper learning for the students in more like reflections and these type of things that are harder for these systems to actually cope with, and that is more unique in the sentiment of the students as well.
Yeah, thank you. And Daniela, can you give us the perspective as a high school student about your knowledge about ChatGPT and how actually are you using it? And is it or is it not improving your studying habits, or like what is your experience?
Actually, when ChatGPT first came out, it made quite the waves in our school because everybody was so amazed by what it can do. We were especially amazed by how it was able to generate answers in Romanian as well, because Romanian isn't that much of a spoken language. So we were kind of interested in see what more it can do. Personally, I try not to use it because it can be quite addictive to have the answers generated for everything you need. But it's fun to see the things it can come up with and how that can make you think if you were to think about that, or is AI really going to surpass us? You know.
Yeah, sure. And Mishiko, what about you?
I think, first of all, I think AI is one of the most important discover for our future and for now. And using a ChatGPT and any other AI systems is really good, and it makes easier and faster our life and our working time. Because if you have some questions, you can just ask AI, and it could give you really good answer, and you don't need it to search on Google and start searching on other websites and in the another articles. It just gives you a really good answer, and you can use it also for study and for education. It makes easier to study and learn some different things from AI than from, for example, games, or for example from books.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And actually, since we're talking about the education and its impact of on the educational sector, first of all, Alberto, as a from a teacher standpoint, are you afraid what might can be caused after this, or you think that we will figure out best way to use it?
Mm, I'm not afraid about this the type of systems. Actually, it's I think it's important to understand what these systems are actually capable of and try to understand how they can be best used in different scenarios. Of course, it's a lot of discussion about what we just said, like a lot of people using them for getting answers in different, which I think talks more loudly about the type of assignments that we're trying to impose and the type of things that we're trying to teach. I tend to try to have in my courses either more hands-on work or more reflective type of work, trying to do more critical things that these systems are actually not made for, or they are not really capable to do at this time, and which actually improve more for the student itself. It creates more deep learning to understanding how these systems are used. So in general, I think it's better to try to understand what the systems are and try to utilize them in a way that can improve the classroom in different ways, to help people in different ways, but trying to think that the systems are not replacing anything else more than making us change the way we approach the courses as well.
Okay, thank you so much. And Daniela, I was wondering about, for example, exams. We talked about exams, and we all know that exams in its own way is not an ideal way to gauge someone's knowledge, and it depends on a lot of factors. But have you or have your classmates or anyone you knew of have used ChatGPT to pass an exam that they were not going to pass?
Actually, I don't think I do, because I'll take my school for example. It's very strict. We can't really use our phones or any devices during exams, because contrary to our schools in Moldova, for instance, we only get marks for these exams. We don't really have presentations or projects or answer in class to get marks. So it's quite strict. But I do believe if let's say somebody had the chance to use the phone, they would probably use ChatGPT, especially for subjects like maths or physics or chemistry that have more of a straight answer, not a very the one that doesn't need much creativity, let's say. And maybe in the future, some regulations will be put in place to evaluate students not only for these exams, because as we can see, ChatGPT is really taking over in this type of answers, but more of maybe work throughout class or something more creative.
Yeah, thank you. And what about you, Mishiko? Have you had any experience with anyone using ChatGPT to cheat, maybe?
So some people think that this is the end of the education. AIs are the end of the education, but I don't think so. So I think AI is the future of the education and not the end, because you can learn 10 times faster than before AI, and it gives you all sources to develop your brain and your skills. So I think everything is depends on people too. And for example, using ChatGPT, so you don't need it. For example, if you're working some projects, you don't need it to read 10 pages of book and learn one answer. So you can just ask ChatGPT about this answer, and it can give you answer. So I think it's a really good thing to using ChatGPT, but you need to just learn, for example, for exams, and don't cheat. I think everything depends on people, how they use those sources.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Daniela, I've heard that you represented Moldova at Intel AI Global Impact Festival, and we are all keen to hear your experience and why and how did you use AI, and yeah, just talk about your experience.
So yes, that's right. This summer, I represented with a colleague of mine our country in the Intel AI Global Festival, where we created a technology AI based that helps agriculturists and people in the agricultural field with predictions for the next agricultural season. So it can predict the weather. Let's put it simply, and also give recommendations based on those predictions. So, for instance, if you maybe want to plant something in your garden, or you're in the field of agriculture and want to and think, what can I plant to have a great productivity and have and get great money, then our technology will give you the answer and will tell you what products it's better to plant. For instance, let's say tomatoes will be great to be planted between March and May, and it has a great accuracy of over 90%. So we're kind of proud of that. This festival was quite fun for me. It was the first time I participated in a competition of this great envergure, and it taught me a lot and helped me better get into this field.
Yeah, this is amazing. And can you share to us, like, did you use what tools did you use? For example, do you use no code, or did you code stuff, or in regards to the like actual modeling and stuff like that?
My connection was lost, and
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. I was wondering what tools did you use to create that type of integration, and did you actually code, or did you use no code tools, because these are also getting really popular recently?
We coded. We coded it in Python, and we used Intel Atom and Acceleron for the structure, and used two modeling tools to help with predictions. I can't really recall right now, but they helped with the prediction and the greaten the accuracy of the program.
Yeah, thank you so much. Mishiko, I also have heard that you have worked on several projects, and I wanted to hear also from you about your experience working with AI, and yeah, if you can talk about it in a short.
I think work on some project using AI is faster than working by yourself. So if you have some questions, and sometimes we are working on some new projects or hackathons where I'm just asking AI to give me some questions and answers, and it gives you several answers which are really very realistic, and everything is depends on you how you will go on this way. I think using ChatGPT and AI also develops you and your skills.
Thank you so much. And Alberto, we talked about recently about no-code solutions and all of that stuff, and I wanted to hear from you, what can a young person do to improve their knowledge with AI, and not necessarily maybe think about working in this field, because we all know that we will, in any field that you may be working, you will have to have some kind of relationship with it. So what is the best way for them to go about it, and what are the tools or maybe some courses that you maybe suggest?
Yeah, definitely. I think that AI in general is a technology that is inevitably is going to affect our life in all areas of society. I teach a course on AI in society here at Malmö University, and besides other technical AI courses. And in this course, we mainly discuss the uses of AI, different type of models that are being used right now for, assessing loans, helping medical devices and medical practitioners. So we discuss a lot about how AI is going to be integrated into society and how it is already integrated into society, and how in many countries AI is seen as the solution to many of the problems. And so it's a real bet for many people, which means that in general, we need to educate more about AI, not only the technical aspect, we will always need technical aspects of AI, of course, but I think it's almost as important or even more to discuss their application, the risk, benefits, challenges, and different type of opportunities that exist with AI in a way that people can, empower the people, so the people can actually know what type of things are happening, what type of decisions are being taken, and trying to think about the AI that, or the models of the AI that we can do, the AI that we want, and the AI that we actually should be working on, right? So I think it's important, more than technical aspects of AI. I think it's very important for people to take courses or learn about what is AI and what is actually doing these models, what they are actually doing, and how they are applying society and how they could be applied in society. I think that we need to integrate more people here, not only computer scientists, but every sector of the world, every sector and every subject needs to be part of this to try to learn the best from each other and try to see better applications of what we need to do.
Yes, thanks a lot. My next question actually is to everyone, and whoever wants to jump in can do so. And this is more like broad in a sense, because a lot of people think that there is some kind of threat with developing AI, and especially if we talk about some sentient future that we might see from AI, a lot of people are genuinely afraid. And I want to hear from you, what do you think is the future for the AI, and should we worry about our role in the world in the future? Daniela, yeah, you maybe you can start.
Sure. Well, I think AI, it's just at its beginnings, and we are yet to see what it can do. I think even ChatGPT was quite a surprise when it first came out. So who knows what the future brings, as they say. I think that AI will gradually become more and more part of our daily lives. So, asking it to help us make a grocery list or something like that won't be such big of a deal, or even provide simple answers as ChatGPT does now will not be this great of a deal. Um, while you were saying the question, I watched last weekend Megan. I don't know if you heard about this movie. It's basically about an AI toy that something goes wrong and it turns evil, so to say. I'm not going to say anything more. I think this is more of a science fiction. I don't really believe in this theory that AI will come after us and try to destroy humanity. But this is my personal opinion. But I'm quite excited to see what it will come to be.
Yeah, and Alberto, you can jump in.
Of course, I completely agree. I don't agree either with that idea of becoming a threat to humanity in that regards AI by itself. I think the main real threat is the use of AI in areas of societies that be used, right? It has been proven times and after times about the type of biases that exist in these models, the type of biases in the data that they're learning, trying to use them for demographic type of things about like gender and this type of things is something that obviously these models cannot do. They're just learning bias that is in the data, and that will become worse if they are implemented in some parts of society. For instance, there's this big study in the US about the recidivism, which means that you are a person that commits a crime might commit a crime again. And there was a big study about how, well, using these models for recidivism, they are quite accurate based on the data that they have, but they are not accurate at all in the sense that they are just learning biases in the data. And employing those type of models in society is the real threat for society itself, because then it will institutionalize those type of biases. It will perpetuate those biases in society, especially when the discussion around AI being something more objective starts to happen, because it doesn't have the human subjectivity, but in reality has all of the biases perpetuated in the model, and that saying that it might be more objective might perpetuate even more those type of biases in society. So I think the main danger is where to use them. There's many areas that AI shouldn't be used at all, and that's why I think that these learning courses such as AI in society, things that are less technical, more about the applications and how these models work, I think is more relevant for the type of future that we're trying to build for everyone.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I personally have read a lot about some experiments done, for example, in education sphere, where there were some models in US being used to evaluate students with their exams, with their attendance, with them being active during classes, and a lot of those experiments backfired and didn't really get a great results. So there are a lot of really hard fields, like sensitive fields, I would say, where you should be really careful to start implementing those, because as you said, the contextual awareness, so to say, is really lacking with AI, because it's only based on statistics and whatever you feed it to learn. So Mishiko, if you can talk about your ideas about what kind of threat can it be to humankind, and should we worry about its role in the future world?
So, in my opinion, AI is not dangerous right now in today's life, because usually we are using those AIs for education, for art, and for our life things. But we should to know it is a artificial intelligence, and which means in every minute and in every second it's developing and upgrading and learning all things. Uh, so I think everything is depends on our society, how they will use it. They can use it for developing people and developing culture and education, and also they could use it for maybe. So I think for now and for today it's not dangerous, but nobody knows what will happen in the future.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, like all of you, is that we all know that these models are created by humans, right? And we all also know that humans are typically prone to failure, and a lot of times humans make mistakes. So what what can happen if we create a model that we make some mistake during making it, and then it backfires and does something wrong? Like, for example, Alberto, as you are an expert in this field, can you say what are the safety nets and features that you guys, or like in general industry, uses to make it safer for all of us?
Well, I think that I will. I think I will continue with my point about one of the main threats is still the bias in this data. Like, I think there's a lot of work done to try to mitigate this type of bias in the data, trying to either remove those type of features from the data, or trying to reduce them by blocking some part of images or of the text, take away that. I think part of the safety nets that we have to think as a society, as a group, is developing systems or developing AI technologies that actually is that what we need, rather than just because we can bit, right? So that is a main point I put a lot of emphasis on. But I also discuss a lot because of my work during my PhD. I did a lot of work in human AI collaboration. So the main approach I take with AI is as a tool in many ways that is able to collaborate with humans to solve some type of shared task. And in my case, I do it for games, but those same ideas and those same approaches can be applied for many other different type of areas. So to use it as a way for helping and fostering creativity in human designers. For instance, if you use DALL-E, you could by prompts start to generate a lot of diverse content, a lot of diverse images that then can help you direct the type of design or the type of art that you want to create. You can use it as a way of ideation, of foster creativity. So I think that in general, the move forward is to have more approaches towards human AI collaboration among other type of better systems, such as explainable AI that helps people understand better what this AI decision making is. But that's, of course, is a whole war in itself.
Yeah, I totally agree. And uh, Daniela, I want to know, like, if we look at history timeline, for example, we can see that in the last 20 or 30 years, the jump from, like, in terms of development of, first of all, the computer science and then the AI field has been, like, amazingly rapid and really, really fast. And what do you see in maybe 20 years, 30 years? Is there a, like, do you imagine anything happening, or like anything can happen?
Honestly, anything can happen because I don't think people from the 2000s would imagine us walking around with plastic rectangles and talking and even touchscreen. I don't think people even imagined that was possible 20 years in the future. So I actually don't know. I think the world will progress at least at the pace it does now, or maybe even faster, because technologies change every day and new technologies are created every single day. And maybe at this moment, somebody is working at a technology that will blow our minds, but will become a normality in, let's say, 10, 20 years. Who knows? But that's the exciting part, not knowing what will happen and what to expect.
Great, great. Thank you. And what about you, Mishiko? Do you see anything, and can you make some predictions about the future?
So I hope everything will be good in the future and nothing will happen bad. Um I think right now so many people have really good sources about AI and technologies, but some things are on private and we don't know what do they have and how those are developed. So I don't you really know what will happen in the future, and I hope everything will be all right.
Thank you so much. And one last question. First of all, to Alberto. Um, I'm sure that a lot of us heard about the trolley problem, and I'm sure that you also have about the problem and issue where we have to, for example, about the self-driving cars. When we are learning the models and selling those cars, we have to have some type of safety mechanisms in order to for it to avoid, for example, collision or do another thing. There are some ethical and philosophical discussions that we might have continue here and talk about it hours and hours, but uh, I want to hear from you. How are the developers and how are the experts in AI approach these kind of philosophical and ethical questions, and what is in all of this the role in all of this of youth and young people who will be living in a world where there will be a lot of self-driving cars, and are they really involved in all of those decision makings?
I think that that's definitely probably one of the issues that have kind of permeated the development of AI and many technologies is the development of those technologies and AI in kind of in a vacuum. kind of in a more traditional way of doing computer science and more traditional way of working without actually involving the humans and the users in different type of ways. I think that that's something that we are moving away from. We're trying to move more towards actually having a lot of more human-centered AI techniques and approaches. There's many labs around the world that are being created and many associations that are working towards having more human-centric solutions for AI that is not only considering the user, but actually involving the user as the main part of all of these parts. So that's definitely the move forward. And I think that many, if not all, systems are trying to move towards that type of type of approach and type of mentality as well. With of course having a consideration about the potential harm that it can be created by using these technologies. It's always something to discuss, something to have relevant in all the different discussions about the opportunities that are created with technologies and also the problems that can be created with technology. So definitely something to look forward to see what happens in the future.
Yeah, thank you. And Daniela, if you have any last wishes or ideas about how you as a young person might help in this process that we talked about, and any of your last words, please.
Oh, firstly, thank you for inviting me here. This was a very interesting discussion about my help in this field. I hope I can use AI in the future to make something creative, to inspire people, and I don't know, let's say create a better world. This maybe sounds noble, but I truly believe in AI as a tool to help humanity become better, not only smarter, but also to understand the world around us and create something that we really want to see, not just, let's say, be afraid of. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And Mishiko, yeah, any last words?
So I agree with Daniela. First of all, thank you for inviting me here. It was a really good speech here, and I heard so many things. I think our AIs in our world, our AIs will develop more and more and more, and we will use it very soon. So that's it. I'm so thankful for inviting me here.
So thank you, and Alberto.
Hence, following Mishiko and Daniela, thank you so much for the invitation. It has been great to hear everyone's perspective and opinions. I think it's very important to have this type of conversations, especially with different groups, so then we can just understand better how this affects everyone around us. And yeah, and really looking for the development of AI in general. I think, as I said, approaches like human AI collaboration, this type of ideas is the way forward in general. So yeah.
Thank you all three. This has been really interesting for me also, and I hope that our listeners also enjoyed. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.